Hello guys, welcome to another of our video tutorial, and today we'll be discussing about the list. Okay, we've briefly talked about the list in our previous classes, and today we'll be officially discussing about the list. Okay, so we said that the list is a collection of items or a sequence of items, okay, and the list can be used to achieve a whole lot of things in Python, and today we are going to go into the practical section of it so you get to understand in detail what a list is. Okay, for a start, this is the syntax for the list. Okay, so it can be any name, but it has to show that it's a name related to list. Okay, but the most important part of it is that this is the bracket that is used to identify a list. It's called a square bracket. So whenever you see anything enclosed in a square bracket, it is definitely a list. Okay, so just have that in mind. Okay guys, I've been able to write a list of lists so you really understand what a list is once you see any of such. Okay, so the first one is a list of numbers. It could be even numbers, it could be odd numbers, it could be any form of numbers, okay, or it's just a list of numbers. The second one is a list of strings. So the string can be any name at all, so long as you've known what a string identifier is, the quote, either single or double. So the third one is a list of floating point numbers, or a list of floats. Okay, so you can see that each of these numbers has decimal points. Okay, so this is a list of booleans. Okay, true, false. So this is the list. Then this is the list of combination of each of these other lists we've talked about. You can see here we have number, an integer, we have string, we have the float, and we have the boolean. So here also we have the list of lists. So it literally means that a list can also contain another list, as you have seen here. Okay, so we're going to go into the list method so you know how to make use of the list method. But I've been able to list out all you need to know about every list type. Okay, so I'm going to clean this off and create a new list. This is list of numbers 1, 2. A list of numbers 1 to 6. Okay, so when you want to access the methods in a list, you use the dot approach. Okay, so we're going to go into a few of those types, then we'll talk about each and every one of them. So assumably you have a number you mistakenly typed in here while trying to use the number, so and you want to remove that. Let's say you have one as it is here already and you want to remove this particular one. So what you will do is you use the list method pop. Now if you want to remove this number, you're going to, if you're using the pop, you're going to use the index of this number here, which is 0. Okay, so you say dot pop in brackets. Okay, now if you're using the index 0, you have to include it inside this bracket. Okay, so the next thing to do is to print your list. In this case, we are using list as the name of our list because we can't use list. Once you type in the T here now, Python will highlight it, which means we are trying to change the main definition of a list as defined by Python. Okay, so that's why we usually don't use the name of any special name in Python or in programming. Okay, so when you run your program, you can see here that the one here is removed. Okay, so the pop method is used to remove a particular value using their index. Okay, so if you want to remove any of this value, you use the index. Okay, so all the indices here, all the numbers here rather, can be accessed using their indices. Okay. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to show you is how you can remove without using the index, but in this case now you have to use the value itself. Okay, you want to remove 1, you have to use the method remove and no longer pop. Now in this case you are using the value itself and not the index, so when you run this you're going to remove 1 as well. So you can see here 1 is removed, but we didn't use the index, we used remove at the value. Okay, so without going further to start typing all this again, I will just be cleaning off the method and imputing the ones that we'll be needing. Okay, so let's assume you want to add to what you have written, you want to add to this list. Let's assume you want to add 7 to this. What you will do is use append, and here you will put in your 7. Okay, so when you run your program, you discover that 7 is already appended at the end of the list. Now it is by default that when you are appending a particular object into a list, the object will appear at the very end of the list. Okay, so if you want to append it in a particular position along the line, what you will do is use the method insert instead of append. Okay, so but what happens is that in this insert you have to specify the index, that's the position where you want this 7 to appear. Let's assume you want it to appear immediately after this 1. Here is 0, this is 1, so here you'll be having 1. So when you have your list, you will see that 7 is immediately after the 1. Okay, So this is how you use the insert and the append. Append can just come to the last as usual, but insert, you specify the position, then it will go straight right there. Okay. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to show you is how you can copy a list. Okay, so let's assume you have a list like this, and you don't want to start writing everything that you have here. Like I told you before, you can have a list ranging from 0 to 1000, and it wouldn't make sense if you're to keep repeating that again. So what you do is to copy it. And how to copy a list is simple. So after you have written list.copy with an empty open and closing bracket, you assign it to a variable. Okay, so that variable has automatically copied the initial list. So when you print your variable, which in this case is the letter A, everything in the first list will be displayed. Okay, so you can see here that our A is taking the form of the first list, everything inside the list. Okay, so this is how you copy a list. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to also teach you right now is how you can sort out a number. Let's assume that these numbers were given to you in an unorderly manner. Okay, they're not arranged and you want to arrange them. Okay, so let's assume you have 3 here instead of 2, and you have 2 here, and you have 7 here, and you have 0 here, 0 here, 0 here, and you have 5 here. Okay, so let's assume you're working with a list that has this order. So what you do is you first of all sort it out. So you use the sort method to work on a list with such unordered form. Okay, so you print your list again. This time around, your list is going to have an arranged form starting from the list number. Okay, so you can see here that this is 1327065, but when we print our list using the sort method, every number is arranged according to their size. Okay, so this is 0, 1, 2, 3 as the case may be. Okay, so if you want to sort the number in the opposite direction, you want to start from this is ascending order. Okay, so if you want to make it to be in descending order, what you do here is to reverse. So you use the reverse method. When you do that, the highest number will come first. Okay, sorry, I'll have to keep this insert first. Okay, so sort, then here can use the list.reverse. Okay, so when I run that, as you can see, because when I deleted this, it initially went to how it was before. So I have to give this command, so it will start from the smallest one to the highest one, so I can be able to reverse it. So that's actually what I have done here. You can see here that it has started with 7, 6, 5, and so on and so forth. Okay, so the next I'm going to teach you is a general function or a general method in Python. It is not solely for the list, it's not solely for the string, and one of that is called the count. Okay, now the count is actually what we use to check the number of appearances of any of these characters. Let's assume, let's add more of these other ones here. Let's say 1, let's say 7, let's say 6. Okay, so let's know the number of times 1 appeared. So what we're going to do is to use the the method count, then we'll print directly. Okay, print directly from here, and when you run your program, okay, so you can see here that 1 appeared twice here and here. So that is the number of times that is the essence of this count. You use the count to find out the number of times each of these values appeared. Okay, so 1 appeared twice. If you want to check if it is true, you can do that for the same number 3. When you run that, you can see that 3 only appeared once. Okay, so you have it here. Okay, so if you want to see confirm, you can go for that to use 6. When you run that, okay, so you can see that 6 appeared twice. That's 2 times. Okay, so that is how you use the count method. Okay, so another of this multi-purpose or general function I'm going to teach you is called the len function. Okay, so the len function is used to determine the length of your list, the length of your string, your dictionary, your what have you. Okay, so it's a multi-purpose function in Python. So what you will do is, first of all, define your len using the len as the syntax. Then in brackets you put in the name of your variable. Okay, so what we are going to do next is to assign this to another variable. Let's say a, because we want to find out the length of our list here. Okay, so when you print your a, total number of items will be displayed. Okay, so you can see in this case we have a total of 10 items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so that is how we use the list, the len function in Python. Okay, so I hope you have been able to enjoy this class. See you in the next class. Take care.